Parasitic arthropods under crustaceans.
Arthropods, any of a phylum Arthropoda of invertebrate animals such as insects, arachnids, and crustaceans. They are characterized by the presence of their segmented body, jointed appendages, a usually chitinous exoskeleton molted at intervals, and a dorsal anterior brain connected to a ventral chain of ganglia. The kingdom phylum Arthropoda is the largest phylum in kingdom Animalia. Ang exoskeletons ng arthropods ay na-develop from a hard cuticle covering. Yung cuticle na mayroon sa pagitan ng body segments at limbs ng arthropods ay naka-attach sa muscles na kung saan inaalaw nito ang kanilang flexible movement. Ang cuticle ay ang pangunahing binubuo ng chitin carbohydrate na kung saan ito ay sagana sa earth. Another specific feature of arthropods ay ang kanilang segmented body, wherein it appear bilaterally symmetric at yung iba't ibang bilang ng segments sa kanilang katawan with their appendages have several functions according sa region na kung saan sila na-originate. The circulatory system of arthropods consists of a dorsal heart in addition to a vascular space that makes up a homocell. The central nervous system consists of a brain or an esophageal center anteriorly and a nerve cord with ganglions ventrally. Arthropod muscles are mainly striated fibers with epithelial cells with cilia. Parasitic arthropods, vector-borne transmission of disease can take place when the parasite enters the host through the saliva of the insect during a blood meal, for example malaria, or from parasites in the feces of the insect that defecates immediately after a blood. Parasites transmitted by insects often circulate in the blood of the host, with the parasite residing in and damaging organs or other parts of the body.
Parasitic crustaceans. Crustaceans. The word crustacea derived from the Greek word krusta means a hard shell. Carcinology is the study of crustacea. Carcinologists are scientists who work in this field. Now let's define parasite. Parasite is an organism that lives on or in a host organism and gets its food from or at the expense of its host. The development of a free-swimming larva called the nucleus is a common morphological feature of crustaceans in general. Nucleus is the name given to the first larval stage of a many crustaceans, which has an unsegmented body and a single eye. In addition to having two pairs of antennae, unlike other arthropods, one pair of mandibles, and two pairs of maxillae. Most crustaceans have gills. Their heads are frequently indistinct and poorly separated from the rest of the body, and all the appendages, with the exception of the first set of antennae, are divided into two parts.
These are the examples of some crustaceans parasites under subclass Copepoda. First is Ergacilius or the gill lice. It is a parasite on fish and it may found on skin, fins, and take note that only female are parasitic in nature and the male gill lice are free-living. Gill lice has a single median eye on their head. Second is the Chinomyzon inflatus or the egg-eating louse. It attacks the eggs of the spiny lobster, spider coral, smooth fan lobster, or the Ibacus novemdentatus. Inflatus perfectly copy the shape and the size of the real eggs, and the Chinomyzon inflatus attached to the eggs of the smooth lobster. Third is the Lernaea or the PP anchorworm. It is a parasitic among freshwater fish, especially in the gill region. The form of the parasitic is long cylindrical with two pairs of hook-like appendages at one end. Lernaea female is called vermiform. After mating of the female and male, the male dies and the female burrows into the flesh of a fish and transform into an unsegmented worm-like form, usually with a portion hanging from the fish body. Fourth is the Omatocoita elongata or the eyeball-sucking silus. It attached to the eye of a shark. It's over 85% of this shark are blinded in one or both eyes because of the Omatocoita elongata, but they can fortunately survive through using the rest of their senses. Last is the leprosis pygmaea or the crab cancers. are attached to another parasite. These are highly degenerate isopods that attach to the externa rhizocephalan, and just as a crab is constructed by its parasite.
In subclass Banchuria, an example is Argillus, a fish fly. Argillus is very common fish parasite. Its body is oval with rounded carapace. Eyes are compound, have 4 pairs of swimming legs, and a set of antennas is modified into huge barbed sucker. Argillus attach to the scale of fish with the help of its sucker. They have a long slender pre-oral sting that they use to pierce the fish skin and inject a toxin. They use their mouth and mandibles to consume the blood, mucus, and tissue at the puncture site. They can be damaging to fish mainly due to fungal infection that attack at the puncture, and they can transmit fish viral disease and other fish parasites. Subclass Cerepedia, first example is Tripiteza. Tripiteza is a little barnacle with only 4 pairs of thoracic limbs and no abdominal segment. Select the gastropod as it hosts. It makes a burrow into molluscan shell. The second one is Ascotoracida. Ascotoracida are closely related to the barnacle. The productive habit of these little weirdos are poorly understood, but they can be found growing in or on the bodies of echinoderms and jellyfish. Their bodies reduced to almost clump-like lipless blobs. Last one is Saculina. Saculina is commonly called as root-headed barnacle or crab cancer. It shows extreme case of degeneration due to the parasitism. This parasite appears like a fleshy tumor attached to the abdomen of the crab on the ventral side. It sends roots-like processes like mycelium of fungus on each appendages and body of the crab to derive nutrition. In result, it prevents the crab from molting, growing, regenerating, and producing. As Malacostraca, first example is Gnathia. Gnathia have a piercing and sucking type of mouth. They are isopods like woodlice and billbugs, but lie in wait until a fish swims close enough to latch onto. After gorging on blood of fish for several days, the fish jigger molts into a non-parasitic stage until ready to feed again, alternating in this manner several times in its life. Another example is Cimatoa exigua, the tongue biter. It is one of the infamous parasites in the sea, which parasitize fish. Cimatoa exigua is initially enter their host through the gills, beginning as males but change sex as they grow older. At first opportunity, the newly female exigua will climb into the fish mouth and attaches itself to the tongue of the fish and establish permanent residency by piercing the fish tongue with her powerful bite. And after that, they start to suck the blood until the fish tongue gradually atrophies and disappears. The process does not kill the fish. On contrary, the fish actually start to use the parasite as their tongue. Cimatoa exigua is considered as the first confirmed example of a parasite effectively replacing a host body part.
Cyclops are the intermediate hosts of guinea worm. They are tiny crustaceans of the family Cyclopidae, also called water fleas. They are usually found in stagnant bodies of fresh water, such as wells and ponds, in poor agricultural communities in rural or peri-urban areas. They are just visible on 0.5 to 2 millimeters, and we can recognize it by their jerky mode of swimming in ponds. Did you know that female cyclops can reproduce without fertilization in numerous generations, and it only stops if their habitat becomes dry? Their eggs can be easily dispersed by animal or flood to other places, and when these eggs hatch, new populations will arise. Dracunculus medinensis is a parasite that causes guinea worm disease or dracunculiasis. The disease is transmitted to humans when they drink water containing infected cyclops. The main transmission of the disease is when we drink contaminated water with cyclops containing infected larvae.
When cyclops are being ingested, it goes to our stomach and moves around freely and tries to penetrate the thin intestinal wall. If successful, they end up in the connective tissues of abdomen and thorax and will develop into adult worms. Mate after 3 months. About a year after the infection begins, the female is ready to emerge from the body to reproduce by releasing up to 3 million larvae.
Treatment and prevention. So there is no natural immunity against guinea worm and no effective drugs, neither vaccines are available to prevent or treat the disease. So the only available treatment is to extract the worm. So this has to be done very slowly to prevent the worm from breaking. So only a few centimeters can be pulled out each day. The most affected in whom Guinea worm emerge is near joint. So, example ng joint is yung sa knee natin. So, mas malaki ang chance na magkaroon ka ng ganitong infection kapag palaging nakababad ang paa sa putik, mga ganyan, at mga tubig na madudumi. A traditional method of preventing the worm from withdrawing inwards is to attach a thread tied to the leg. The number 2 na method is yung attaching the protruding part of the worm to a matchstick. Here are some control measures. Number 1 is prevention of patient for water contact. Number 2 is installation of safe drinking water supplies. So, the very practical method is yung filtration of drinking water. So, meron din tayong chemical control, itong thermophos. Cyclops can be killed by treating water sources with this chemical. So, it is an insecticide that is safe for drinking if used at the correct dosage.